Okay, I want to welcome everybody to our Intro to Techno-Anthropology event, um, featuring our guest today, Mr. Miguel Hernandez. And thank everybody for joining.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you. So a little bit about the Unified Anthropology Association Online. We are a diverse group of anthropology majors and enthusiasts, and we're here to build a community of connections within the School of Human Evolution and Social Change at ASU Online. What we do is we have professional networking events, and we also have guest lectures and other fun events like we have trivia nights, game nights where people can win prizes. We also have other events with students all throughout ASU Online. So I'm Cheyenne Barron. I'm the ASU president. In my fourth year here at ASU Online. I'm an anthropology major, and I'm also getting my master's of science in global health. And we also have Angela here today, one of our other officers.
Hi guys, my name is Angela and I'm the Officer of Diversity and Outreach. I'm majoring in anthropology and I'm interested in cultural anthropology. And we got Jonathan as our Officer of Communication and Design. He couldn't be here today, so he really wanted to be here, but I couldn't be here. And he's really interested in archaeology. And also we have Adriana. She's the Officer of Operations and Liaison. And she's currently studying from Ireland and doing mass communications.
And Jonathan also wanted everybody to know to join his event. We'll be having a collaboration with him next week that we're going to talk about in a minute. We also have continuing leadership. Our graduate president, Morgan Kempf, she just recently graduated with her MS in global health. We had our founding officer, Jeffrey Pendleton, who's currently studying in London at the University of Cambridge, and Courtney, who is working in Hawaii with the National Forest Service. So these are just a few of our events we have planned for the semester. Welcome to our first event, the Intro to Design Anthropology. And next week, we'll be having our collab with Officer Jonathan, where we're going to talk with one of our ASU professors, Dr. Smith, about Mesoamerican archaeology. Then we're going to have a few more design anthropology events. And next month, we're having a Black History Month trivia. And Angela's going to be hosting an event about traditional Korean coming of age ceremony. And then we're going to end the semester with a chat with Dr. Williams, who's now over our department. So now I'm going to turn it over to our guest speaker. He's going to have some slides for us, and it's going to be really interesting. So here's over to you.
Well, hello. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm delighted to be here, and I will very briefly speak about my academic path for now. And then Angela sent me a set of questions, so I will try to respond to some of them. And then we can, I feel free to ask me any question. In the meantime, feel free to interrupt. I think this is a very informal, or I would like it at least to be informal. So yes, I have some slides I'd like to share. Let me see. Okay. Oh, okay. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So what the argument I want to pose today is why I think we should merge anthropology and technology. That this is where I'm at. I'm part of the Emerging Technologies Research Lab, which is a laboratory between the Faculty of IT in Monash University and the Faculty of Design and Architecture. The lab is composed by anthropologists, designers, philosophers, and journalists, all together trying to research and unfold social, cultural, and experiential dimensions of design and technology, specifically focus on futures, what's to come, and how can we unpack futures at least in an ethnographic way. Of course, in futures, technologies is a big part of it, so that's where we focus on. A little bit about me. I'm interested in the intersection of the anthropology and technology, design, so on, because I've always been fond of doing something applied, doing something useful. I think that's a good way of putting it, like techno-anthropology. So regarding my views of the world, anthropologists are usually very critical, which is key and essential to understand the world and inequalities, in addition to being critical, I think it's important to be optimist and not to stay in the ivory tower of academia and try to change the world in the best way you can. So that's why I feel like many others, I'm a critical optimist. I try to be optimistic about the future while being critical with my anthropological background. I'm doing the PhD halfway through in futures anthropology in the Faculty of IT, which is a very interdisciplinary faculty, and that's why I'm doing it in IT. My PhD advisors, Sarah Pink and Melissa Duque, they are both anthropologists and designers. Previously, I did research with engineers developing aging technology. So I was very much in the technical side of things, but doing the social part, doing the UX research. My academic background is a master's in techno-anthropology and dual bachelor's in sociology and political science. The master's was done in Denmark, in Aalborg University, and my bachelor's, I did it in Spain with 1 year exchange in Finland, in Jyväskylä University. Also, during COVID, I lived in Russia. I'm mentioning these countries because they've really shaped the way I think now. And it's not only that I like traveling, I like also to get immersed in other countries, get to know people from different contexts, which I think is a very good quality for an anthropologist. In conclusion, anthropologists, we have a lot to say, and I want to argue for this in this presentation. These are some pictures of my previous for example, on the left, you have a typical Soviet block of flats where I used to live, and I want to pinpoint that. On the right, you have a picture of me in Denmark, and on the bottom, you have a frozen lake where you could drive in Finland. And yes, this is to contextualize my current research and thinking. Some theories and concepts I drawn is which are, so to speak, interdisciplinary and which are very important for anthropology, science and technology studies, socio-geron technology. And moving into futures, there is an emerging field in futures anthropology or sociology of expectations, in which they try to understand how people use their everyday life, their mundane life, to understand futures as contingent, as experiential, and so on. And some concepts which I believe are important to understand futures is technology is imaginations, improvisation, trust, control, surveillance, which are key to understand how humans experience technology and imagine emerging technologies. Very briefly, some key readings I I believe are important to know in this field of techno-anthropology, design anthropology. Well, are these ones. Probably the one on the right is more foundational, is more theoretical, while the two on the left are more applied. And yes. So I'm researching futures through focusing on people, on industry, and everyday and technologies. By everyday, I mean mundane things, how people, social practices, which the people do in their everyday, and their conceptualizations of activities and things they do. I believe as anthropologists, we don't only need to stick to people, we can also understand industry, which is for me very important. By industry, I mean industry reports and industry professionals. I think it's important to approach them in an ethnographic way. And because, well, they are key to developing futures. So therefore, we need to unpack what they think. Just to emphasize my point on why industry is important, for example, here you have a depiction of an older persona made by a big consultancy, Deloitte. And you can see that this older person is being represented in quite, not in the best way, because it's someone who lost his wife, whose wife was the epicenter of his health, cooking and doing everything for him, and his life now is boring, and he's missing his wife. And he longs for the intellectual challenges that work brought him. As you can see, it's quite a patriarchal way of depicting an older persona. Also, quite a capitalistic way, because they think work is the only place where you can have fun, enjoy. So therefore, industry is key to understand because they are shaping the futures, as well as us. No, it's not only industry or governments, it's also people. But I believe we need to understand what they think and how they imagine futures to improve them in the best way we can. So, for example, how can you unfold futures? One way to do this is to use comic strips. For example, comics can be used in interviews and ethnographies to foster imaginations of futures. For instance, this is one key comic strip that I used with my participants, in which I represent a future smart kitchen, which an older person is being surveilled by cameras, by fall detector racks, by a fridge that tells you how many times you open it and calories you consume, and a robot cooking for you and not letting you choose or control the technologies in your kitchen. Therefore, I think this future to me is quite dystopian, but regardless of my dystopian views, I want to show something, a binary, quite an extremist or radical way of depicting a future to foster discussions with my participants. In this case, I use it with professionals and industry professionals and older people. Other methods I use is visual ethnography at older people's households and aged care in Melbourne. I have a tour around the home. I explore future technologies. I ask the participant to walk me through the home and to imagine future adaptations for the homes. Which technologies does he think he will incorporate in the future? Or how would he feel in that future? I mean, would he feel controlled, surveilled, and so on? And how would he react to those future surveillance and technologies? This is a method I used. And just a final picture of one of my participants. We were having a very interesting discussion regarding a picture of Melbourne, the city where I'm based. I think it was 100 years ago. It was very small. And by looking at the picture, we had a very interesting discussion about how he imagines the future of Melbourne. He, for example, associated Melbourne with bike lanes, with sustainability policies and electric cars and so on. And ask him, for example, I asked him several questions about how the people who was living in that past, 100 years ago, how would they feel if they were now, or if they were living now, or how would they feel if they were living 100 years ahead? So this is an example of my visual ethnographic interviews I have. So this is all I wanted to share regarding my slides. And now, if you want, I can answer to some questions that I have ready that you crafted, Angela, or you can ask me the questions, however you feel is best.
Okay. Well, yeah, I really enjoyed those slides. Those were very informative, and it kind of gave me a good, overview of what you do. But I was kind of wondering, do you have anything, particular thing, or what your growing up or your background that helped you lead you to this field, or how did you how did you discover this is what you wanted to do?
Yes, so basically, I was studying sociology and political science in my bachelor's, and I felt it was very theoretical and not really applied. I even had professors who told me, you're never going to get a job in this area. You will just be stuck reading books, which is good, but you need income at some point in your life. So I started to explore on Google different masters, different ways of applying social science into the real world, into current challenges, and I found a master's in techno-anthropology. So I decided to apply and study it in Denmark. And by studying the master's, I came to know my current supervisor. I read her work. She's a leading anthropologist in design, digital ethnography as well. And then I came here to Melbourne. So that's
Okay.
my story.
Do you think that, in what way do you think being in so many different countries and working and studying and living, how you feel like that's helped you in this field particularly?
I think it's helped me a lot, and I feel I have had the privilege of doing that that not everyone has, and I'm thankful for that. But one privilege is that, for example, in Europe is we have no visa. We can travel very easily to other countries and even study for free in many countries. In addition to that, it's helped me to basically meet people from different worlds, different languages, different backgrounds, and try to empathize with them. And I think, being empathetic, as you may know, is a key feature in any anthropologist as we study people, right? And different people. It's also helped me to speak different languages and try to see that the only content, for example, I was living in Madrid before, and Madrid is not the world, it's just a very small representation of the world. So yes, I've broadened my mind, but also acknowledging that I've had a huge privilege in that sense as being a European citizen.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, Angela, you had some questions you would like to ask, or anybody else that's viewing?
Do you have any like stories of clients that you met, like that you would like to share, or yeah?
Well, as I'm doing my PhD, I don't have many clients for now. I hope to have in the future. But for example, before I came to Melbourne, I was in an aging lab, and I did some freelance work as well, doing UX research, user experience research. And I'd like to highlight that the current version of UX research is not embracing the traditional anthropological methods and theories we do in academia, which is because probably they don't have the money or time to invest into long ethnographies, into theoretical research. Which I understand somehow, but in that experience, I felt that there was no time. No time available. They only gave 5 minutes to interview people. So very, very on rush and a very hurry investigation, which didn't give many in-depth understandings of the case study. So by saying this, I want to highlight that I think as we are now entering in the industry, which probably didn't happen 20 years ago, which was more difficult, but now it's easier because of these industry jobs. I think we need to defend our discipline to acknowledge the value of ethnography, that maybe you don't need 1 year to do one small investigation, but you probably need more than 5 minutes to understand people. To also carry with us the ethics of our discipline, which not all industry players understand. Basically that, because I think, I'm very sure about it, we bring a lot of value to the future of industry.
Thank you for your answer. I would also like to know how what design anthropology is to you, like personally.
So design anthropology, well, it's an, so to speak, emerging field, which is intersecting design and social sciences and anthropology, because as anthropology attempts to understand people are now living with technologies. Anthropology is not just a way to understand how people use technologies or how people interact with technologies, which is probably the focus of human-computer interaction or other fields. I think anthropology is good to understand how people coexist with technologies in a more holistic way, and to understand how people imagine alternative designs in the future, which is actually something critiqued by some designers, because some designers think it's not up to people to think of alternatives, it's more the job of the designers. But I disagree with that, and I think a lot of design anthropologists disagree with that as well. I think as people, we need to understand how we imagine alternative worlds beyond the technology itself, understanding the socio-political system, understanding the ecological perspective of it. For example, how we coexist with plants, animals, and other species in the world, not only the technology. And yeah, probably that's the way I see it. Design anthropology.
Yeah, I really agree to that statement because like it's really important to know more about like the consumer's thoughts or like experiences, but then like if the designer just do it based on their ideas, I don't think it would really like the product wouldn't really sell that good.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, I
And for
wouldn't.
anybody No, I'm
Yes.
sorry, you can go ahead.
Oh. Yeah, and it's not only seeing consumers and giving an economic perspective to the business, which of course is now key for any business in the world, but I think it's also ensuring that the business understands the social responsibility, social consequences of their technologies in the world, because that's profitable in business, and also that's profitable for society in general. And also how people adopt their technologies, or maybe whether actually the technology they are producing is relevant or not. Because sometimes interventions shouldn't be technological and should be social interventions without any technical thing, you know?
Thank you. And what you just said now, that made me reminded me of my question. Has there been any, since you've been in the field, seen any consequences, whether they be positive or negative, regarding this new emerging technology? Because it seems like a lot of things are coming out really, really fast, and it's seems like it will be a lot of an adjustment. But what has it been like in your experience?
Do you mean any positive or negative
Like effects
experience?
of like people Yeah, what from your work and like anything that you might have been working with like in your program or anything like that.
Mm, okay, so um, well, I think design anthropology brings a lot of positive mm, outcomes to society in general because we need to understand technology is part of the current world we live. On the negative, a negative outcome, I don't know. Well, I mean, what are you asking? What could be negative
No, I'm just
about?
saying if you have, I didn't say that like any, I didn't know if
Uh,
there were, but just either have either one. But yeah, I can see how definitely there have been so many positive impacts of the field because it seems like it's balancing out, like it's more overwhelmingly positive than negative from what it seems like.
Yeah, yeah, probably. I mean, I'm sure there will be negative consequences of design anthropology, but to me, it's crucial to understand how people think, how people live, and imagine the world we live. Therefore, design anthropology is key to understand that, focusing not only on humans but also on technologies and other species. So yeah. Mhm.
So in terms of technology, do you like you said age tech, so what kind of technology, like specific
Mhm.
technology are you referring to?
Yes. Age-Tech is an abbreviation of aging technologies, which is, in other words, for example, floors that monitor whether you fall or not, or sensors around the home that monitors your speed, your gait, for example, if they see that you are walking slower than before, that sensor will probably send an alert to a doctor or your caregiver. Other than that, if a fridge that monitors your calories and your consumption intake. Um, for example, there is a very emerging technology which is a lamp and has edge technology which is called the Novi lamp. Is a company based in Belgium, and they recognize your falls and so on, and all your many vitals of your body. Which I mean, this spectrum of technologies is great. And as a critical optimist, I don't want to say, oh, this is wrong. We shouldn't have technologies whatsoever. I think they are great, but they also have a lot of shortcomings. For example, they are treating older people, they are perceiving this segment of society as people who are frail, who are dependent, who are sick, and they don't really give any agency to these people. In this way, they don't really ask how older people think about these technologies. How do they feel surveilled, monitored? How do they feel about it? And in this way, I think any anthropologist would do a very good job by unpacking this, by going to people's households, homes, and just asking simple questions like, how would you feel with this technology? Mhm.
Yeah, that's a
Mm,
really good because for me, I volunteer at a senior center, so where everybody's like 80, 60 up. Most people are like 70 plus. And there are a lot of
Mhm.
people who are older, like in their 90s, who do not like a lot of assistance. So I understand your point about saying like painting it all as everybody's just the same when you have to really analyze them on an individual level to see who this would serve best compared to just putting them all in one group.
Yes, that's a very good point because also these technologies are actually being deployed for everyone. They don't really understand the how to say, like the specificities, the particularities of people. For instance, these technologies are being mainly developed in Europe, Israel, and the US and Canada, and they think people are aging alone. They think they are living alone, basically, and therefore they are neglecting that people, for example, in South America or in India or many other countries, they are aging with their sons, their daughters, and so you don't need that much that technology when you are aging with your people. Also, they are attempting to reduce social isolation for older people, and they just put a technology that gives you some conversation, which is good, but I doubt that that really actually reduces social isolation just by putting in a smart speaker speaking to you. You know, I think they are sometimes treating people as just people who don't really have or don't really need social interaction. I don't know. Mhm.
Angela, do you have any other questions, or do any of our guests have any questions for our speaker?
Well, I see that there's like intersection between public health and also like ethnography as well. So
Mhm.
what are like the common questions that you go and ask the elderly people about
Mm.
their situation?
Yes. So yes, I mean, in aging, there is a very, very strong intersection with health technologies. But I feel that that can be a problem. Because if we focus so much on health, we are actually neglecting that people have other needs beyond health, which can be entertainment, technologies, or social things, you know? Um, but by saying this, um, some of the questions I ask, I don't ask straightforward, but I'm aiming to unpack how people feel by technologies that control them. How how do they need to control technologies? It's not for example, do you feel surveilled? Do you feel not? How do you feel about the future where industry governments are dictating what you need or what you don't need? Would you like to have some agency in that, some control or choice? I mean, these are quite philosophical questions that I don't ask straightforward, but these are the topics I'm trying to unfold and back in my writing. Beyond that, mm, yeah, it's controls. Also, for example, a very important topic is improvisation, which is a very strong anthropological concept. For example, lots of these technologies are trying to predict what you do, are trying to say, okay, you as a person in 10 minutes, you will react and you will behave in this way, and therefore my technology will be there for you. However, as we are humans, we improvise, we don't go as anticipated in many ways, and therefore technologies need to understand that, and the industry as well. So it's improvisation, control, surveillance, agency, some of the things I'm trying to focus on.
We also have a question in the chat. So do you have any book suggestions or podcasts for people who are interested in getting to learn more about your field?
Yes.
This is from Melissa.
In about books, for example, in my previous slides, I pointed the books of design anthropology, design ethnography. There is a bunch of people in Aarhus University in Denmark focusing on this field, also in Aalborg University. And in my current lab, I think they are very good at doing that, in especially the books of Sarah Pink, which is, for example, design anthropology, design ethnography, sorry. And then about podcasts, there is a person that, if you let me, I'll send it to the chat. I think is one second. His name is Mats Arts. and I will pop it here in the chat. Well, he's doing a lot of podcasts on the intersection of anthropology and business and technology, which is a bit emerging, not that emerging right now, but is still needed, and we will need it in the future. They will need it. So I think as anthropologists, we need to be ready for that future change. And also, well, I mean, if you want to focus on more theoretical or more foundational books of the intersection of anthropology and design, you can read Tim Ingold's work, which who is pioneer in movement. He researches movement, creativity, and many other realms within anthropology and design. I'll write his name here.
Thank you. So as we get ready to close out, is there anything else you would like to add or about regarding your field or anything else you'd like people to know?
For example, a question that really made me think that Angela sent me was about the required skill set for a PhD. And I want to pinpoint that I think everyone has his own path, or in that way, I mean that there is no required set of skills. You can be very good at writing, you can be very good at reading, or you can be very good at conceptualizing things. So I think don't be persuaded by people who tell you you should be in this way, because we are unique humans and we have strengths and weaknesses, all of us. And that doesn't apply only to academia. I think that applies as well to industry. Yes, my conclusion is that the future, I firmly believe that the future of anthropology is bright, and we should embrace that and be there for that change. Because if we don't do that, we would let economists, engineers, and other dominant disciplines to take over in board meetings in industry and decision-making spaces. So I think we need to be there.
Yes, thank you. And this has been a really very informative meeting, because I didn't know anything about design anthropology, so I just learned a lot today. And I really thank you for taking the time to educate us about this. If there isn't anything else anybody wants to add, we're going to go ahead and close out. And I thank you all for joining our guest speaker today, Miguel Hernandez. So thank you all, and everybody enjoy the rest of your night. I'm going to end the recording now.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh, Angela, you're recording.
Yeah.